The complexity and compliance issues of workforce management can vary greatly based on the size of an organization. In a recent HCI Webcast, 5 workforce management questions large organizations should ask, presented by Lisa Disselkamp, Practice Director of Workforce Management and Technologies for ISH, and sponsored by Workforce Software, Lisa examined the 5 key questions that organizations must ask and answer in order to extract the best performance from their workforce management programs.
So there's 5 perspectives we'll take these questions from. First, we'll take a look at the financial aspect of workforce management. We'll talk about some strategic issues, some operational and tactical issues. We'll talk about the very important aspect of people and the positioning of workforce management and associated technologies. And we'll wrap it up with some dialogue about compliance and wetware. So that first question, are current time and labor management processes designed to control and limit spending and deliver ROI? Large organizations cannot continue to overlook the incremental compounding of cost. And we cannot overlook the fact that these systems manage or can manage a large portion of spending. For many organizations, the total payroll can be as much as 75% of total expense or more. When you look at your total payroll, and particularly in large organizations, do you think that you have 100% of cost containment, and are you doing 100% of everything that you could do, or even close to that? And in reverse, would you neglect to even save 0.5%? Most workforce management processes and systems fail to influence spending because initially they're not designed around cost. So let's kind of summarize this first question. This was the biggie. So think about how your technology is driving cost reduction. Explore and assess whether or not you're neglecting any leakage, and ask it how it could drive revenue. So let's go into the second question. How are they used to deepen follow-through? The biggest frustration with many leaders, particularly in large organizations, is shallow follow-through. How can I get my directive to push down through the organization? So basically, we need to look at whether or not your rules and actions inside workforce are aligned to those corporate goals. Did we use design reviews, or do we continue to do that? If you look at your business, if you're in manufacturing, for example, and you're producing a new product, you never manage the success of that product through just budget and schedule. But unfortunately, I can tell you that that's how many times time and attendance projects are treated, as though the only measures of success are on time and on budget. We should be looking at the outcomes and measuring and designing for those, and that should be a continual process. What next year? What's your strategy? What's your financial target next year for this system, and what's been designed into the system to deliver that? Have we made a roadmap for our organization to get to that point where this system is helping us manage better? Question 3, has it been deployed for maximum effectiveness? And has it been proven to contribute to operational success? The fourth question that we need to ask is, do I have the right people? Do the players create a fragmented approach to technology? Does it serve small groups or the larger organizations? So we need to look at who's invited when we start to talk and work on workforce technology applications. Typically, it's IT and finance, maybe HR payroll, and you may have some administrative owners of the system. So what's going to be their focus? It's going to have to fit with their current model. They're going to be focused on minimizing change and disruption to their operations. They're going to be somewhat risk averse, and not, if they're successful at what they're doing today, they don't want the introduction of this technology to put that at risk. Ultimately, the folks listed here, aside from perhaps IT, don't really own, or I'm sorry, finance don't really own operational costs or savings or outcomes, so why would we expect them to deploy this technology against those outcomes? There's always a fear for the degree of change. How much more change can people take? This isn't going to be the only application going out in your organization. Won't be the only upgrade. Won't be the only process change. The last question we're going to ask is, do I understand my compliance and wetware risks? And you can't touch time and attendance without talking about compliance because it's so important to every organization and particularly large ones. There is increasing vigilance by governing bodies such as the government, unions, and groups like that to clamp down on non-compliance. I know that the Department of Labor has hired, I don't know if it's hundreds or thousands of more agents who are going to go out and investigate employers for compliance issues. And, you know, if you watch the media at all, you will find class action suits and that they will go in and take an industry, take a handful of hospitals, for example, and find the same incidence of problems for that group of hospitals and levy their fines. So we need to make sure that compliance is something that's well understood. Employees at the same time, while people get unemployed or underemployed, can look at a former or present employer as a source of more income. And some of those opportunities are to say that, you know, I wasn't treated fairly regarding overtime, regarding donning and doffing, which means being paid for putting on a uniform, being paid while I was waiting for my system to boot up so that I could clock in on the web. Did I count hours properly? You know, did unapproved overtime or overtime work get quote-unquote unapproved and therefore unpaid? We see that a lot. I worked through a meal or my employer didn't allow me to take a meal. Rounding abuses, bargaining agreement compliance issues. Are employees exempt or non-exempt? There are lots of rules around minors. In certain industries, there are even rules around staffing ratios.